today's Trigold webinar. My name is Malcolm Mitchell and I'll be going through the webinar today with you. It's an advanced Trigold webinar where we'll be looking at various things. I'll first of all look at how to update the system. I'll then look at a couple of examples. I'll look at some shared ownership transactions. I'll look at some shared equity and help to bear transactions. I'll look at some remortgage sourcing transactions, and then look at some lender details and also on how to do some certain things on Trigold. So first of all, in the morning when you should arrive at your desk, the first thing you should do, guys, is you should go up to the right-hand side of your Trigold and click on Update. And that will then update from the previous evening, so everything that you're doing should be correct. Every lender that you're dealing with, every KFI that you produce should be correct and update with what Trigold updated the previous evening. However, caveats with regarding that, what you should do is always check with the lender that the various code on the KFI matches the lender's KFI on their website. So that's quite an important caveat there. As you can see, it does take a fair while for the updates to go through. But once they are through, you know that that's been done. And the problem that you might find is very busy in the morning. You may not do an update, but it's probably worthwhile doing an update every single day, and then you can get the right information going forward. So that's quite key when you're looking at a Trigold. Today we'll be looking at, we'll be using the intrinsic restricted Trigold version. There is an intrinsic IFA version and a Positive Solutions IFA version. So when we're looking at sourcing details today, guys, it's not going to be exactly the same sourcing details for everybody, but it's the way that we actually get to the source that's very important. When you have initial training with Trigold and with intrinsic and Positive Solutions, your trainers may go through Trigold in very fine detail with regarding using all the filters that you can use on Trigold. I take a view that if you look at Trigold as a sourcing tool alone and not the be-all end-all, you're probably able to be more successful. If you do use the Trigold and you use every single filter on there, you may get into a situation where you may discount some lenders and therefore put your customer at disadvantage. So what we'll do first of all, guys, if we can, is we've already looked at the updating the system. What we'll do now is looking at a generic browse. So there's two ways to use Trigold. One is a standalone, which I'm sure everybody will use when they're with customers to show KFIs, give quotes, etc., and also do some research themselves. And the second way is when you are on Workbench and you are performing a transaction, you go into Workbench, and then Workbench will automatically pre-fill Trigold for you, and then you then go into your KFI and then produce a letter going forward. Okay, but today I'm going to be using a standalone Trigold, and therefore I'll be putting in some information into Trigold to get the KFI. But first of all, if you are looking at browsing products, you should look on the front page of Trigold. You have various tabs. You have Browse Product, Lender Details, New Client, Open Client, Equifax, and Mortgage Applications. For today, we'll look at Browse Products. Click on Browse Products. What appears is all the various types of mortgage types, from fixed through to tracker. You've got the product term, so how long the term is going to be of the product. So between 0 up to 25 years. Now, as we know, gone are the days of having product terms for that long. So invariably you have product terms these days for 2, 3, and 5 years. You've then got lifetime mortgages to include, exclude. You've then got the panel that you have. So for example, this is Intrinsic's panel, but it could be a whole of market or it could be Positive Solutions. You've then got tabs to discount or include various deals from direct products through to verified, or step products, or offset products. You've also got the quick quote section where you can look at the purpose of loan from purchase all the way through to further advanced remortgage, buy-to-let, etc., etc. You've also got the buyer type, be it a homeowner or a first-time buyer. You also have repayment method, be it repayments or interest-only, no repayment vehicle, interest-only repayment vehicle, and other different types of repayment methods. Okay. Valuation or the purchase price. You then have deposit, loan to value, term. And then you have an income, first income, second income. Okay? And I mentioned earlier on, you can use every single tab, and it could take you a long time to sort products. But for today, it's going to be a very quick browse to get to a stage where you'll be able to give a customer a KFI. So let's just assume that our customer, you've had a conversation with your customer, and your customer says to you that you would like to go for a fixed rate. You then discount all the other mortgage types. The customer then tells you initially they want to go for a 2-year deal, but potentially we'll look at a 3-year deal and a 5-year deal, and we can come on to that just now to explain how you can actually incorporate that into one sourcing system. You look at 2 years, and then 2 and to 2.5 years. The reason why we're saying 2.5 years for is that most lenders don't work in years, they work in months. I think to my knowledge at the moment there's not many that would use years. Nationwide do use years, and you'll see that going forward. Let's exclude any lifetime products, unless you are equity-lease qualified or you do lifetime products, not really going to appear on Trigold anyway. Okay. Purpose alone, let's just go for a purchase. Let's just say it's a first-time buyer and the person wants to go repayment. So very simple today. Now this is quite key, and again, for you guys who use Trigold a lot, you will know how to use this. Sorry for explaining things that you already know, but I think it's important that we talk to people in layman's, because some advisors, don't use Trigold all the time or haven't used it for a while, so it's very important that we go through that. Let's assume it's £100,000 with a property, and let's just say we know that they have a deposit of £10,000. Okay, I'll automatically pre-fill the loan to value, automatically fill in the loan. Conversely, you wanted to pull it, you knew your customer said to you, I've got 10% deposit, you know you put down 90% and it fills it in that way. Okay. The terms can vary. 25 is a typical term. You can go from 5 to 40 years depending on the lender. But today we'll look at 25 years just to get a generic source. The question we get from all our advisors quite often is, what income do we put into Trigold? Bearing in mind, this is not a lender's calculation, it's not a workbench calculation, it's literally you're telling Trigold what you want the results to get back. So I would always put a generic income of 50,000 in, even though there might be 1 or 2 incomes. Go for 1 income, 50 grand, at least you know it's covered, it's covering the loans, and you're not going to discount any lenders. Bearing in mind that when you do a workbench transaction, the income will automatically be pre-filled in, which really helps going forward. And also bearing in mind, guys, when you are doing applications on the system with the lenders doing a dip and a full application, you have to have the correct income. It's very important at that particular stage. We now press OK, and it'll bring up a list of sourcing. On the left-hand side, you have all the lenders, guys. You have the different types, so we know it's fixed, F for fixed. Initial rate, so we basically sourced it on initial rate, so the cheapest rate, and consequently the cheapest payments going forward. Here is the period, so as you can see, some of them are giving you a definite date, some are giving you 2 years, like I mentioned before. There's a few other ones, Cambridge, Nationwide, and Hinckley. Then the SVR at the end of the rate, what it is now, and the fees associated with any particular deal. And then you've got the cashbacks, guys. Any cashbacks are available on that particular deal. Okay? Verified or non-verified? We tend to get that question quite a lot. what is verified, what is not verified. Verified is basically meaning that it's been verified by Intrinsic or Positive Solutions, that that's correct as of the website of the lender. I would always, always, always check with the lender's website to confirm that the codes are the same. Don't take too much information in the verified section, but it's a fair indication that it's a bona fide deal for yourself. Okay. So what you then have on this section, you have product, client, initial filters, filters and tools. This section will show you the guts or the bones of the deal that you're seeing there. If you change it, that will change as well, guys. Okay? Go to client. This is basically the top section where it tells you about what deal you got. The rate, payment type, loan type, etc. This is where you can sort of use filters if you wanted to, but I mentioned before, I probably don't use filters at this particular stage, only when I've got a fair idea of what lenders are going to source for clients. But I will be talking to you later on about a remortgage, and then you will use filters. Okay. So what you have is that is a generic source of a 90% deal, including based on the best rate. What you can do, okay, is add various tabs and get various other options, like I mentioned before. So if you add a tab, your customer wants now to have fixed rates, but now for 3 years. What you would do is go back to client section and change the 2 to 3. Okay, so same deal applies, just looking at 3-year deals and source. So then now what you'll see, sources at 2, you get all of the 3-year deals appear. And then you go to new tab for 5-year deals. So what you're doing is, instead of going back into client details every time to change the term of the product, you're just changing it on the tab. Change it to 5 years and source. And what it's doing is, it's showing you the 2, the 3, and the 5 years all on one screen, so they can compare. And where it becomes more important with this, guys, is if you want to compare the overall cost over the 2, the 3, or the 5 years. Okay. Now this is where you can use the toolbar at the top. Now this toolbar at the top, okay, can be used for various things. Okay, and there's probably another conversation on another day. But if you have any inquiries about the tabs on the top and how it can be used and what to use, if you give Trigold a call, and we can supply that information to you guys, telephone number wise, and links for their webinars and links for their videos, then it's worthwhile looking at that as well for more in-depth stuff. But for this particular scenario, my customer decided that he wanted to have the best deal over 2 years, including any fees that would be paid. So any arrangement fee, valuation fees, etc. And as we know, you've got to pay for your valuation fees, but sometimes the arrangement fees can be added. So click onto 2, and then click onto the 2 boxes saying, I want to add the arrangement fee and any other fees to the loan. Click OK, and then what you'll see will appear on the right-hand side next to the loan to value, there'll be a further tab called Total to Pay. And if you see the dynamic of that screen's now changed from the top lender changing to Accord now, because it's showing you, including all the fees structure and the cashback, that deal is the cheapest in an order from the cheapest at 11,316 down to the more expensive down the bottom. Similarly, you can do it. Click onto option number 2, results 2, which is the 3-year deals. Click on Total to Pay and change that to 3 years. And again, it's a very simple but very quick browse to show you and show your client comparables with the 2 and 3 year deals. And then similarly on year 5, total to pay, put in 5 years, and the same things will appear. So it's very, very good that it's a basic browse, but you're using various tabs to find out what the best deals are. And again, it's down to yourself if you're sourcing by initial rates, by overall rate, by total to pay, by fees, by cashback, because every single client has their different scenarios. So you would have to find out from your client what they wanted and then source it accordingly. Okay, I'm just explaining to you how that can work. So that's just a browse and an update to go forward. What we'll do now is we'll go back a section and we'll now try and get some KFIs for specific scenarios. So let's look at new client. So you can do this by new client, or you can do it by your workbench, whatever you wanted to do. You need to then also put a reference in there, and the references are stored, so it's important to have a unique reference. So hopefully one of this avenues, 3 avenues, is referenced before. You then go into Mr. And for example, we'll use very famous James Bond is my client today. Don't worry too much about date of birth, telephone numbers, or addresses at this stage. We'll look at, we'll say that James is employed and he earns £50,000 a year. Don't worry about how long he's been in his job at this particular time. And we'll look at source. So we'll look at him doing a purchase again. Homeowner, sorry, he'll be a first-time buyer. And he's going to repayment. And this time, James is going to be buying a property on a shared ownership scheme. And this is just a very basic showing of how you can get shared ownership deals on your screens. Okay? You then click the box on the right-hand side called Shared. This box appears at the bottom now. And you then pick the Shared Ownership tab. And we're going to assume that James is going to buy 50% of the property. So you put in 50% in there. And we'll then say, what you have to do on your ownerships, you have to put the value of the full property value up there, so 150,000. Okay. We know that James, okay, wants to put down a 10% from the 75 grand that he wants. Okay. So that would then work out, because I've done my sum before, 67,500, which then will say that from the £75,000 loan, he's putting down 7.5 grand, and that's going to be the loan. So it works out for you that 90% deal. Okay, so it's very clever. It actually does it for you. Okay, I'll also then click into fixed. Not many variable ones knocking about. Click into 2 years, 6 months. Exclude those products, and then go source. And what it will do is source for you shared ownership deals. What you are going to have to do with shared ownership is they appear slightly different. Okay, so you're going to have to go. There will sometimes won't always be the shared ownership deal that appears. It might be a generic 75% owner value. So there, for example, here's shown Ulster. It's coming up. Nationwide, Abbey, Mansfield, Halifax. So, for example, that tells you that's shared ownership by the pure nature of the deal. Okay, up here. Halifax affordable housing is the shared ownership, but you obviously only know that if you've done deals for Halifax and so on. A new tab will now look at the same deal. We'll now look at doing it over 3 years. We're going to do the same scenario now as we did before by looking at various types of deals. 3 years. You see how Leeds will appear now, and Newbury will appear. So this is the way you can do it, and then 5 years going forward. Okay, but it's very important that you look at using the tabs again to compare. But again, going back with this option is if you go to the sourcing and you say click in shared, and then click in share ownership, and what percentage you're buying, that will then give you your deal up here. Sometimes what people get wrong is they put in the valuation up here of what the price of the share they're buying. So they put in 75 grand in there, and it wouldn't work. So you put in the whole value of the property up there. You in your mind know that it's half of it, and you would then put 90% of half of it in the deposit box. Okay, guys, hopefully that helps with that. I'm now going to look at some shared equity. Now, coming forward in the very near future, Trigold will be bringing in help to buy filters and tabs, which is really going to help because at the moment you have to go into it and play around with the system a little bit to find the best deal. Okay, so let's find a new reference. And we'll pick James again. Again, we'll look at employed, 50 grand. We'll look at source. Purchase now, you're going to be a home, well, you could be a home mover or a first-time buyer with a shared equity. It all depends. Bear in mind, guys, shared equity is the first option. It's the equity loan, help to buy scheme on a new build. So let's, for argument's sake, say it's going to be 125,000. Okay, and how it works, as you'll know, it's up to 20% loan from the government, interest-free loan for 5 years. Customer puts in 5%. So you source at 75% loan to value. It works all out for you. You put 75 in. It works out the deposit and the loan and the size. Okay. Again, let's just try and make it easier. We'll go for fixed rates. And let's look at some 2-year deals. But again, we can look at the 3 and the 5 again by using the extra tabs, guys. Okay. Let's just source. I do confirm and I do state going forward there will be some tabs going forward that will help you with the 75% equity deals, definitely. And then what you find is you find all the lenders. Now what you are going to have to do, okay, I'm afraid, is click on loan of value. Click down at 75%. Again, there are other ways of doing this, but this is a way that we find quite simple for advisors to understand. If you've used Trigold for a while, you'll probably be okay with it and okay with it. If not, you might need some help. Okay, and what you'll find is the lower rate is going to be not necessarily the help to buy scheme. You click that further down, eventually we'll find the help to buy scheme, because you'll know what lenders do help to buy. Click through. First one that will appear, you've got Halifax, you've got NatWest. Even though it's 75% on the value, it's reflecting that in terms of the rate. Abbey. Get the picture now, don't you, guys? So similarly, what you would do is you would click New Tab, and you would click 3 years, New Tab, 5 years, and also you would click in the same thing, total to pay over the 2, 3, and 5 years to get a feel for what the best deal is. Okay. What I want to do now is go through a remortgage. Remortgage, you're going to be a homeowner, okay? With a remortgage, let's just say you've got a loan of £65,000. It'll automatically pre-fill everything for you. Again, you put in the loan amount, everything else is pre-filled for you. Term can be depending on what you want to do. You could put in the existing lender in here. You don't have to. All that will do is that will discount the them on the search. Okay, again looking at a 2-year deal, and this is where I'll probably start using a couple of filters initially on a quick source. Because as you'll know, historically, guys, when you do remortgages, historically you'll have a remortgage package which will be a free valuation and free legals. Sometimes the lenders do offer cashbacks, and then you have to pay for the legals. So what I would always do in this instance is go to my filters, click in free legals, no valuation fee, click source, that then picks up all the various deals. And similarly, again, you can click in the boxes, new tab 3, new tab 5 years, total to pay. Again, it totally depends on how you see your customers and what your customers do want from the deal. One thing that we find, our advisors do find, is that the question we get all the time is that they want to disclose the lender details from the customers when they show the screens for various reasons. Okay, you can do that by going up to results and hide lender. That will hide the lender. Which is quite clever. Similarly, if you press F6 on your computer, it'll hide lender as well. So there are a few things you can do on there. But at this particular stage, probably worthwhile not using any of the top tabs. You want to explore them, by all means go through them on an individual basis, or go through them on a one-on-one basis with Trigold, because you can do some good things with them. But in terms of sourcing and just looking at the computer and seeing what you can get, that's probably the best for you guys today. I hope everyone's enjoyed that. This recording will be available going forward, and we'll also be doing some live webinar, Trigold, and other webinars going forward. So many thanks for your time, and thanks for your time. Bye-bye now.